I've listened to 1984 by Van Halen for 4.5 years.
And I listened to it once yesterday.
Welcome to Spin It. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Spin It, the record ranking podcast for people who would rather be listening to music. I'm James, and with me, as always, in the 200s for the very first time, except for last episode, which was number 200, is Connor.
How's it going? Very first time, except for last episode.
Yeah.
In the 200s.
Well, that's like we're starting the 200s. Now we're really fully in the 200s.
Yeah, it's like 201 is like the beginning of the 200s, right? You don't start at episode 0. Well, we did.
This is our 202nd episode, episode 201. But that's okay, and we're going back into the world of rock. Got an absolutely iconic band here, Van Halen. Also, we're kind of entering a little bit of a minivan era.
Yeah, we are.
This episode, and you'll have to wait a week to figure out the rest of that joke, but a van era. Love it. Do you know Van Halen at all?
Of course.
You say, of course, like it's an obvious thing that I should know you know Van Halen.
Well, based on what you know about my musical tastes.
That's true. And I know you're a Guitar Hero kid. And I know Eruption is all the rage.
Never heard of it.
You've never heard of Eruption? That's like the Guitar Hero song that people fight and try to master. It's Guitar Hero, right? It's on Guitar Hero?
What is?
Eruption.
I guess.
Yeah, there it is. Oh, you don't know it from that?
I never played the Van Halen Guitar Hero.
Well, I guess it's just in Guitar Hero Van Halen. I thought it would be in other Guitar Heroes because people talk about it so much.
No, that's like one of the big ones on that. And then you got Through the Fire and Flames, I believe, is the big hard one for Guitar Hero 3.
That's true.
And then, like, each of them kind of has their own unique, really hard song that people fight over.
Okay, so you didn't know Eruption, then what did you know? Probably, I would guess, 2 or 3 songs from 1984.
Never heard of it. For legal purposes, that last one was a joke.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've heard of 1984 because it was a year, and then it was a book first, and then it was a year, and then it was an album.
Mm-hmm. Wild.
So do you know, like, David Lee Roth Van Halen? Do you know Sammy Hagar Van Halen? Do you know there are different Van Halens?
I've heard both those names, but I couldn't tell you who was who.
Okay. David Lee Roth, Diamond Dave, he's the first singer of Van Halen. He's with the band all the way up through this album. After this, we get into Van Halen with Sammy Hagar, and then there are a few other lead singers as well. But those are the big ones, and Sammy Hagar had a pretty good solo career too. We'll get into it. But probably, like me, I only knew David Lee Roth Van Halen for a long time. It was only recently I started looking into second era Van Halen. Yeah. Did you ever watch the Disney movie, the Herbie Fully Loaded?
Uh-huh.
Where the car drives itself and Lindsay Lohan's in it?
Yeah.
Yeah, uh-huh. So you know the song Jump then. Or you've at least heard it.
Yeah.
That's the first time I can recall hearing the song Jump, is watching that movie sometime in my childhood, which is great. I think it's a movie I've only seen maybe 2 or 3 times, and all of those times happened close together and decades ago. But I definitely remember Jump making a really strong impression on me. But yeah, let's talk about Van Halen. You know some of their music. You can now know some about them. You will be prepared to answer questions like, do you like David Lee Roth or Sammy Hagar better?
Let's do it.
Van Halen is named after its 2 founding brothers, Alex and Edward, better known as Eddie Van Halen. They were born in the Netherlands in 1953 and 55, respectively. But in 1962, the family moved to Pasadena, California. Their father was a musician, and Eddie started to break into the world of music by learning to play classical piano by ear. I mean, that's a talent right there. Classical piano is complicated and difficult. He did it by ear. After that, he took up the drums, while Alex learned to play the guitar. Alex Van Halen was the first guitar-playing Van Halen. But it didn't take long for Alex to start playing the drums himself, and he said, Eddie, you got to quit playing the drums. I want to play the drums. Make me the drummer. And Eddie was like, fine, I guess I'll become one of the greatest guitarists in history, if you insist. So they made the switch.
It's not exactly how I wanted to spend my Tuesday, but, you know, if I got to become one of the greatest guitarists in history, I guess I will.
Hey, brothers got to do what a brother's got to do. You know, not how I wanted to spend my Tuesday. Or all the Tuesdays after that. Every Tuesday for the rest of his life.
No, it was just one Tuesday to become, and the rest
Oh,
of
and
the
the rest
Tuesdays
to exist as, to be, yeah. Well, they got together and started a band. Their first band went through plenty of names, plenty of identities. They tried out Broken Combs, Trojan Rubber Company, Genesis, which obviously did not work because there's another very famous band named Genesis. They tried Mammoth.
Never heard of them.
Never heard of Genesis? You practically brought Phil Collins for the podcast. I mean, I know I did.
Yeah.
But it was with your consultation.
Mammoth is a great name.
Mammoth is a really good one.
Also, what's with them picking names of things that already basically exist? Genesis was already basically a band. I mean, Trojan Rubber Company.
Well, yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. And I don't know why Broken Combs was the starting point. Like, what was the appeal?
They both broke their combs on the same day, and they were like, maybe this is a sign that we should call our band
I
that.
said, wow, this isn't how I wanted to spend a Tuesday, but guess I'll comb my hair some other way. But yeah, I like Mammoth. They actually stuck with Mammoth for a little bit. And they took off playing school parties and local gigs. Sometimes they were getting big crowds up to like 2,000 people.
Pretty big.
I know, right? $2,000. If I had a nickel for every person there, I'd have what?
Yeah, go ahead, do that math. You can do it.
That's a lot of nickels. If I had a nickel for every one of those people, I'd have $100 in nickels. That's crazy to think about.
Pretty good. It's a lot of nickels.
It's a lot of nickels. But while they were doing these local gigs, they rented their sound system from a guy by the name of David Lee Roth.
I know that name.
Well, good. That's great. He's about to become very much more important to the Van Halen story. David Lee Roth, in addition to being their sound system rental guy, he was in his own band at the time, but he had connections to all kinds of local venues. So the Van Halen brothers recruited him into the band as their lead singer. He didn't really blow them away. He wasn't like astonishing. But when Eddie didn't have to sing anymore, he was able to really channel all of his energy into playing guitar and songwriting. So that's cool.
And he had all those connections.
Yeah, all those connections and all those nickels. He hooked him up. David Lee Roth also had a very great idea, and a very ironic one. It was his idea to change the band's name to Van Halen.
It's a pretty good name.
Not either of the Van Halen brothers. David Lee Roth allegedly said, we should be Van Halen, because he thought it was catchy and gave them a marketing edge, kind of like Santana, right? Or other bands named after people. Eventually, Bon Jovi would kind of do the same thing. And it is pretty catchy. Although I think they could have probably succeeded with Mammoth, but Van Halen just has a certain like zing to it. At this point, the band also included bassist Michael Anthony. So that's the lineup. It's two Van Halens, David Lee Roth and Michael Anthony. They started to move up in the world and land these big standing Los Angeles residencies. They were playing clubs like the Sunset Strip, which was famous for launching the Doors' career a decade earlier. They were playing Myron's Ballroom and the Whiskey A Go-Go. It's pretty cool. A local DJ, a radio DJ, was blown away by their really loud and energetic performance. He saw their live show and was like, oh my gosh. And he had to share it. So he brought Kiss's Gene Simmons to one of their shows.
Oh, I know that name.
Yeah, you should. We did a whole Kiss episode a long time ago, 151 episodes ago.
Yeah, but we also talked about them last week.
We did also talk about Kiss last week. But we didn't talk about No, we did talk about Gene Simmons specifically because of the tongue logo. Mm-hmm. Well, I'll be darned. Yeah, Gene Simmons shows up to watch Van Halen play. He was floored. And he said, I'm going to pay for you guys to make a 29-track demo tape. That's a lot.
Why 29?
It's a great question. Maybe they only had 29 songs ready.
Like, was that the number he requested? Or was he like, I want you to make a demo track? And they went, we have these 29 songs. He goes, perfect.
I bet it's probably that way. I don't think he went, I need exactly 29 Van Halen songs from you.
I mean, it'd be pretty awesome if he did.
That's true. Very specific. So Gene Simmons gets them demoing. Then they ran into another celebrity connection and another stroke of luck. The guitarist for Van Morrison's band knew that the esteemed producer Ted Templeman, who's known for his work with the Doobie Brothers, who we talked about on episode 142, Ted Templeman was hoping to find a quote-unquote guitar hero act. He wanted a real rock band. And once he saw Van Halen in action at the Starwood, it was on. He wanted them so badly that he wrote them an IOU on a napkin until they could draft a more official contract. He was like, I'm putting this in writing as quickly as I can give it to you, that I want you and I'm committing to this. So he says, swing by later in the week and sign this contract. The band's like, awesome, we can do that. That's great. They are on their way to sign the contract in their old rickety band car, and it breaks down on their way to the meeting. And because they wanted to be on time and seem professional, they hopped out of the car and they just straight up ran several miles to make it to the signing and the meeting on time. They were a little bit late and probably a lot tired, but they were there.
Awesome.
It's really cool, right? Might as well jump. So they signed this contract, and their first contract with Warner was a pretty bad one for them. It was a 2-album deal, and it only paid them 70 cents per album sold. Not per song, right? Per album, they were getting 70 cents. And eventually it left the band $1 million in debt. But even in spite of that contract situation, their self-titled album was a resounding success. It went to number 19 on the Billboard charts, and it spawned hits like Runnin' with the Devil, Ain't Talking About Love, and of course, Eruption, which is practically what introduced the entire world to finger tapping on a guitar. Literally changed heavy metal in one fell swoop. Eruption is like the song where that was invented. It's not many guitarists who could claim to like change the style of an instrument as you know it, but Eddie Van Halen is one of them.
Yeah.
Do you know tapping? Do you know what that sounds like?
Like what it sounds like to tap?
Like on a guitar. If I said finger tapping on your guitar.
It's where you strum the chord and then tap your fingers.
Not exactly.
Darn.
If you like listen to a little bit of Eruption, you'll get a feel for it. Or if you listen to like some of the stuff Leonard Skinner does in Freebird, there's some tapping in there. It just sounds like you're playing really, really fast. And you kind of are, because instead of using a pick, you're like tapping down on a fret with your finger. And it's just really impressive. So they're changing the game. And they're touring too, with big names like Journey and Black Sabbath. Their second record, aptly titled Van Halen 2, earned them their very first hit song with Dance the Night Away, and their third album, Women and Children First, carried that wave of success into the 1980s. And while they were making these albums, they were making them so fast. It would take them less than 2 weeks to make each of their albums. They'd go into the studio, crank one out in 14 days, and that was it. That's breakneck speed. And by 1984, of course, the band would be hard at work on their sixth album, 1984, or as it is known in Roman numerals, MCMLXXXIV. And that's the album we're talking about today. Well, unlike all the rest of their albums, 1984 would be a really intense endeavor that would take them almost 3 months in the studio. That's a lot longer time. Eddie Van Halen had just opened his very own 5150 or 5150. I don't know how he named it. I don't know how it's called. 5150 recording studio is what he did. And he was really excited about having the opportunity to bring more keyboards and synthy sounds into the band's repertoire. I mean, remember, he started on classical piano, so he's definitely got a wide breadth of sounds he can choose from. But the reason he named it the 5150 Studio was it was named after a California legal code about involuntary psychiatric commitment to a hospital. It was like Code 5150. So that's cool. But since he was building the studio from scratch and opening it himself, it took a long time to get like tape machines running and everything all set up and sound treated and like just to get the studio ready. It takes time. So Eddie Van Halen has plenty of time to fart around with the keys. And boy, was that ever a successful experiment practically. Ted Templeman would later say, it's really obvious to me why 1984 was such a success for Van Halen. He said it was because Eddie Van Halen discovered the synthesizer. And it's true, they go from a guitar band to a real strong, like glam metal 80s synth rock band. 1984 came out on January 9th, 1984, one of the first albums of the whole year. And it was, of course, a huge success. It spent 5 weeks at number 2 on the Billboard 200, which only missed topping the charts because of Michael Jackson's Thriller. So that's permissible, right? I mean, it never went to number 1, but that's only because Thriller was the juggernaut that was holding the number 1 spot selfishly. Jump actually also ended up being Van Halen's only number 1 single, but 1984 also produced 3 other top 20 hits. It would go on to be Rolling Stone's 81st greatest album of all time, and it would be the second Van Halen record after their debut to reach Diamond certification for selling more than 10 million units in the USA. 10 million. They've got 2 albums that have sold 10 million copies.
It's a lot of copies.
I know. 1984 actually sold 5 million in its first year. So that's an impressive feat. It's really remarkable. It's nice. It's that same kind of cool, sleek glam metal that most people probably associate with Van Halen after this album. It's got some great instrumental work, real star power, couple of hit tracks, quintessential vibe, I think, of the mid-80s. I would bet most people that are listening to this episode already know a few songs from it, if not the whole album, which is why you're listening to this episode. I bet you know yourself 3 songs from it, maybe 4, maybe 5. I would bet against you knowing all 9.
We'll have to wait and see.
I suppose so. So that's 1984. Thus concludes the Diamond Dave era of Van Halen. David Lee Roth makes his exit from Van Halen to go solo shortly after the album comes out. The band said, shoot, we need a new lead vocalist. And so they offered up vocal duties to Scandal's Patti Smith and even Daryl Hall, famously of Daryl Hall and John Oates.
That's kind of wild.
Isn't it? Can you imagine Daryl Hall in here? I can't. In Oatsless Hall, singing for Van Halen, they would make his dreams come true. But they found their real winner for a vocalist in Sammy Hagar, the frontman of a group called Montrose. He and Eddie Van Halen got connected because they went to the same mechanic.
Whoa.
And that's kind of how they found each other. What do you know? That's a weird story. It reminds me of how Aerosmith met because Steven Tyler really liked his French fries.
Yeah.
Like, to meet through your mechanic is unbelievable. So Sammy Hagar joins the band that year on vocals and guitar. There's a lot of existing debate among fans about which Van Halen lineup was better. We won't get into all that. They're very different, but also pretty similar. It's a band, you know. Hagar stays with the band for a decade, and he leaves in 1996. Van Halen would put out 4 albums with him in the lineup, and that came with hits like Why Can't This Be Love, With Dreams, Love Walks In, Black and Blue, Finish What You Started, a lot more really good Sammy Hagar Van Halen songs. Then they kind of enter this third era and briefly replace Hagar with Gary Cherone to record Van Halen 3. Then they reconciled with Sammy Hagar, and then later they reconcile again with David Lee Roth for their 12th and final studio album, A Different Kind of Truth, which came out in 2012. Also, in 2006, worthy of note, Michael Anthony left the band. He was replaced by Eddie's son Wolfgang. Wolfgang would be with the band up through the end. And that end came, sadly, with the passing of Eddie Van Halen in October of 2020. The band was still, actively touring all around the world, releasing compilation albums. You know, they were still doing the rock band thing. But essentially, once Eddie Van Halen passes away, the remaining members decided it was pretty much just time to retire the enterprise. You can't have Van Halen without Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah.
Just doesn't work. But they have said there are up to 3 or 4 albums worth of unreleased material that may, sometime in the near future or distant future, they may see release. So we could still get a couple more Van Halen albums, posthumously, and that'd be pretty great. As far as their awards and accolades go, they are far and away one of the best-selling bands in the US. They've sold more than 56 million units, and they're one of only 5 rock bands to earn 2 separate diamond records, right? We said it was 1984 and then they're self-titled. The other 4 bands that have done it are the Eagles, the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, and Pink Floyd. So Van Halen is in very elite company. They have earned an American Music Award on 9 nominations. They earned a Best Hard Rock Performance Grammy in 1992 for Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, and they've been nominated for 4 other Grammys. They've also got 4 MTV VMA Awards on 11 nominations, and Van Halen was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2007. So there you go. That's the Van Halen background knowledge that you need. And now it's time for the Van Halen background knowledge that you don't need.
Dang.
Well, it's just the Factor Spin stuff is honestly some of the most interesting, but it's not necessary to understand Van Halen.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
What is your knowledge of Van Halen?
It's not none, but it is probably pretty similar to most other bands from this era and this size. I know a little bit. I've heard some stories and some tall tales. I know a lot of Van Halen fans that talk about Van Halen. So I hear some things through the grapevine, but I've never researched Van Halen or read any biographies or deep dived into anybody, you know?
The Mixtaper has asked me to ask you to make a concession.
A concession?
The Mixtaper has brought many a fact this week because he's worried you may know some of them.
Oh, okay.
And so normally you two play this little song and dance where he tries to maybe trip you up on ones he thinks you might know. You try to pretend like you don't know them until the last second.
I did that last week with the Rolling Stones and the Sharp-Dressed Slugger.
He simply asked that this week, if there's any that you know, maybe say so up top and he'll replace it.
Okay.
Because it's stuff that maybe is worth talking about, that this feels like the place to talk about it, but you might know it. You might not.
That's fair.
Maybe this was all just part of his game to then bring you 4 spins. I really don't know.
That would be so rude. But I guess we'll have to see what's up. Maybe I'll just use this to re-roll any facts that I don't like. Ooh. Just kidding. I won't abuse it. But I will concede that. Yes, I will be upfront about my knowledge or lack thereof. Get the Mixtaper out here and let's see what he's trying to do with his many a fact about Van Halen.
Hey, it's me, the Mixtaper.
Hello, Mixtaper. Welcome back to the podcast. You're a Mixtaper gone bad.
I'm here for another week of Fact or Spin.
That's great. I've agreed with Connor to your terms, and I will be upfront when I don't know or do know a fact.
Fantastic.
They could be all spins, and that'd be mean. But what if I did? What if I did say that I knew one, and you knew you made it up, and then you'd have to tell me that you made it up? What if I was just wrong about knowing one?
I think if you did that, and I made it up, you just automatically lose it.
That does make sense. Yeah, that is actually a reasonable solution to the problem I tried to create. But won't happen anyway, because these are all facts.
Yeah, well, maybe they're all spins. Up first,
Van Dastard.
Van Halen had an interesting writer.
Uh-oh, another writer like a contract for their dressing room?
Yes.
I already know this one. I'm kidding. That's a joke.
I'm very confused.
What do they need in their dressing rooms? A lot of times this is just random quantities of food. Sometimes it's 9 humidifiers.
This is indeed a random quantity of food.
Sometimes it's what Elton John wanted lamps and you lied about him wanting a bedazzle gun. I don't know. We've had all kinds of interesting writer facts.
Yeah, and this one, Van Halen wanted a bowl of M&Ms with all the brown ones removed.
Oh, I do know this. I'm sorry, because we talked about Billy Joel wanting the Skittles with the green ones removed way back on episode 1, and we talked about how it was true about a real band. The real band is Van Halen.
It sure is.
Yep.
I wasn't sure if you'd remember. That was so far in the podcast. You know, when Connor did Factor Spin, and Connor didn't know to tease true facts about other bands for when that band finally came around 200 episodes later.
Yeah, actually, full 200 episodes since we did that fact. Oh my gosh.
Could you imagine if in the very first episode I teased that there was a fact going on and didn't show it till 200 episodes later?
Well, that's almost what's happened with Ryan the Ghost. We're only 40 episodes away from that being the case.
Yeah.
But Van Halen, yeah, they did that because they wanted to make sure that all their technical specs were being met. So in their writer, they put that in like the technical section to make sure their tech guys were reading everything. Because if they didn't have all the brown M&Ms out, they would know that there could be other problems.
Correct.
Cool fact.
Let's move on to the real first fact.
Okay, the real first fact. Yes, that one's null.
They once got an interesting pet for their hotel room.
A pet for a hotel room? Like a temporary pet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pet is the term I've chosen to use for this creature they brought to their hotel room.
Oh, so it's like not a pet and it's a creature? What kind of creature is it?
Well, creature is just to not give away what it is.
Yeah, right.
It's an animal.
A mammal?
An animal.
Okay. Is it a fish?
Boy, way to just make me look stupid. 2 questions in.
Oh, sorry. I was just trying to play like 20 questions and discern what kind of animal it was, but do you not know if it's a fish?
No, I know it's a fish.
Oh,
it's a fish.
It's a fish. Well, why does that make you look stupid 2 questions in?
Because I, for a second, panicked and thought maybe it wasn't a fish.
What? What is it? Like a stingray? Some kind of not fish?
It's a shark!
It's a shark? Van Halen brings a shark into their hotel room?
Correct.
Well, I don't know this. I can go ahead and put your mind at ease about that. My first question is why, and we'll get into the other particulars later.
Well, first, let me answer your question with another question.
Don't say why
Why
not.
not?
Yeah, okay. I can think of a lot of reasons why not. The logistics alone are enough to really ruin my weekend. Like, you bring a shark up, do you bring it up in a tank, or do you bring it up out of the water? Do you put it in the bathtub? Is there a tank up there for it? Do you put it into the sink and just hope it's getting enough water? Like, what do you do? Where do you get it from? How do you transport it? These are all questions I have for Van Halen, but since they're not here, I'm asking you in their stead.
Well, I can't confirm. It was put in the bathtub.
Okay, but think about this. This is a sad fact. Sharks have to keep moving forward or they'll drown, right?
I mean, it was a small enough shark it could swim around in the tub.
Okay, like a little one.
It wasn't like it was so big that it was like just not able to move.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's fair. It's just you say they got a shark and brought it to the hotel room, and my mind instantly goes to like full-size hammerhead.
And you instantly think Jaws.
Like just some stupid, absurd shark. But you're right. I see people fish off of piers in the ocean all the time, and they catch little sharks, like the mako sharks, whatever. There's smaller ones, and there can be like baby sharks, do. So I can believe it was a smaller shark. What kind of shark was it?
It was a sand shark.
Oh, that sounds pretty small.
Yeah, after one of their performances in Seattle during their 1978 tour, they decided to rent a private fishing boat and caught a little 3-foot sand shark.
Okay, Seattle makes sense. I mean, there's a huge bay right there, and honestly, some famous hotels right on the bay. They could get a hotel shark as easily as one could, probably.
They brought it back to the hotel in a cooler marked stage props.
Yeah, right. So is that why they did it? I mean, was it intended to be a stage prop later? Or did they just want to mess around with it? I hope they were good to it. I hope they didn't, like, end this poor shark's life or cause it a lot of stress.
I mean, yeah, they brought it back, filled up the tub, put the shark in there.
With definitely water that it's not used to.
Yeah. And invited their opening act to come meet their new tour manager.
Is that what they said?
Yeah.
Meet our new tour manager, and it was the shark?
Uh-huh.
That's awful. It's so funny. What'd they do with it? Like, did they let it go? I hope they didn't leave it for some housekeeper.
Yeah, no, the hotel staff discovered the shark, and the hotel asked them to remove said shark. And so a guitar tech, who they nicknamed Steve the Stingray, took the shark back to the nearby harbor and released it.
Okay, like a catch and release. Did they name it? Surely they named it.
If they did, I do not have it. I'm
wow.
sure they did.
A shark tour manager in the hotel room. This is unbelievable.
I should have made the title. Van Halen had a fun new tour manager.
You should have. Well, missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Gosh, I think this is probably... I want to say it's a fact. Because why not?
He wants to say fact.
Yeah, I want to say fact.
Because why? I mean, that's how I started this whole thing off. You said why? I said why not?
Oh, you're right. That's true. I told you not to say it. Maybe I should practice what I preach. But Seattle is a very plausible city for this. I guess it makes sense to me. So I'll say the bathtub shark is real.
This is a spin.
Ah, baloney.
And it's a spin that has been it's kind of a rock band tall tale.
Oh, like folklore?
Yeah. This fact, in a couple different, iterations, as tall tales grow and change between tellings,
Yeah.
has been attributed to almost every famous rock band. Van Halen, Led Zeppelin, Kiss, a ton of famous rock bands from this era all had this tall tale. Fans of that band thought it was true about their band.
Oh, everyone claimed it.
Yeah, but it's true about none of them.
Is it true about anyone?
Not that it seems like it's just a tall tale.
Wow.
A rock band myth.
That's cool. I actually have never heard of it at all, which is funny because I know all the bands you named. Did you run across this fact recently or like a long time ago when you were researching other bands?
Yeah, it was actually between now and it was like a week after our Led Zeppelin episode, actually, because of all the research I did into Led Zeppelin. Then I was getting targeted articles about Led Zeppelin.
Wow, almost 50 weeks later.
Yep.
That's impressive. That's really cool. You held on to that for a year.
Not quite, but yeah. I hold on to stuff until it's the right time to use it.
I guess it paid off. You got the point.
Hence why Ryan the Ghost hasn't shown up yet.
Yeah.
You haven't picked the right band. It's all your fault.
I'm doing a different one every week. I don't know what more you want.
Next, Eddie Van Halen used a power drill in a song.
I thought you were just going to say he used a power drill. I was like, okay, to build what? Which I guess is still a relevant question. To build a song. He used a power drill as like an instrument?
Correct. To play the guitar, actually.
That was going to be my next question. Yeah, whether he used it just as a little like vroom vroom sound or whether he drilled into something with it or used it to play the guitar, huh?
Yeah.
How?
He had a Makita cordless drill.
Okay. Yeah, cordless that's good.
And he would hold the drill against the guitar strings and hit the trigger to generate pitch modulated feedback as he toggled the drill on and off to create a like revving sound that was pitch modulated.
So he wasn't like scraping the strings to shreds with the drill. He was using the electronic drill to create feedback in the pickups.
Well, no, he would turn the drill on and off. But instead of just making the normal revving sound that a drill would make when you spin it, because it was on the strings that was hooked up to like an amplifier.
Yeah.
The rev would then get pitch modulated based on the strings and create like a modulated rev instead of just the normal rev.
Like the pickups would pick up the drill and not the strings.
Well, the strings would help translate the drill rev. So like it definitely shredded the strings, I'm sure.
Well, I don't think you'd need to touch the strings if you did it right. It sounds to me like he's just putting the drill bit.
No, he literally puts them against the strings and then pulls the trigger.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, but why does he do this? What song is this in?
The opening of the song Pound Cake.
I see. I haven't heard the song Pound Cake, and I don't expect you'd grant permission to go listen to it.
No, why would I do that?
So I could hear it?
I'm not even going to let you look up if Pound Cake's a real song.
Oh, well, that's touche. Yeah, how many takes did this take? Did he just do it once and then put new strings on? Did he keep replacing strings for a while?
It was actually recorded live
Okay, so they got it on the first take.
And then he used it in concert performances of that song. He'd bring out the Makita cordless drill and do it.
Oh, you just fire up the drill on stage?
Yeah. Cordless, take it anywhere.
That is a nice feature. Yeah, I think this one's a spin.
Thinks it's a spin. How dare you?
I think Eddie Van Halen has a lot of cool guitar tricks at his disposal that don't require power tools.
Power tools.
I don't think I've ever seen anyone play a guitar with a drill. It sounds like it could really easily, if you're not very careful, like harm your instrument. It could maybe mess with the pickups and the electronics. Like, I just don't know about it. There's a lot of magnets in there, a lot of metal in there. So I think this is a spin, and maybe it's something you've seen someone else do. Maybe someone described his electric guitar playing as like a power drill because it's very metal and fast and kind of that same level of grating. I don't know. But I don't think it is a true fact as you've presented it.
Fair enough. This is a true fact.
True fact, really.
There's a picture.
Look at that. There he is with a guitar and a power drill. Well, I'm not at my finest today. That sounds cool. Can I go listen to the song Pound Cake now?
Yeah, you can. Some people have even, like, I guess in the, like, Van Halen fandom refer to that as the pound cake drill. It, like, is, I guess, an iconic color and pattern.
Well, that makes sense.
People, like, make replica pound cake drills.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Uh-huh.
If I had listened to this, I would have said fact, no doubt.
Yeah, I would like to let you go listen to it.
That's sick.
But yeah, people make their own pound cake drill replicas.
Your mom's a pound cake drill replica.
I knew you were going to say. Not even mad.
Yeah, I know. Well, what can you do?
Yeah, but you see how you being such the guitar guy you are, I was worried you might know that. But I had to bring it just in case.
Totally. Yeah, that's so cool. It's given the same kind of energy as like Brian May trying to make a guitar out of sewing needles or like Radiohead using their EBow.
Yeah.
Like we've had a couple different guitar playing methods.
And so, you see, to be fair, having Connor ask you for the armistice
like it's World War I. Yeah.
Was all about this fact. And I started with the Eminem fact that I knew you would know so that you would let your guard down by the time we got to this one.
Ah, very smart. Yeah, that's wise.
Up next, David Lee Roth was a certified EMT.
Oh, wow. Just throwing that one right out there.
Well, I did say up next.
Well, yeah, but like before you wouldn't say that they even had a shark. Like this one, he's just a certified EMT. Okay. Why did he do this?
He just wanted to give back and stay grounded, but get that adrenaline rush that came from being on stage. This was after he left Van Halen.
He leaves the band.
He took the training and became an EMT in New York City.
That's interesting. He wants the same rush of being on stage, but he wants to save lives. What does it take to be an EMT in New York City? What's the training look like? I don't know what it takes to be an EMT anywhere, actually, but I would assume it's rather involved.
I don't know exactly the process, but I'm sure there's like a whole class thing you have to go, just like becoming like a firefighter or something, right? Like you gotta go through like a training course.
Oh, yeah.
Get certified.
Well, did he actually do it? Like, what if you were in peril in New York City and suddenly David Lee Roth rolls up in a Hot for Teacher kind of school bus knockoff and he's like, I'm here to save you. That'd be a wild experience.
Yeah, after he got trained, he went on hundreds of shifts with EMT crews in the Bronx and Manhattan.
I assume when he went back to Van Halen, he stopped?
When did he come back to Van Halen?
2007?
Then, yeah, probably, because I know he did it at least up through like 2004.
Wow. So that, not to like get dark or anything, but that puts him as an EMT in New York City on 9/11?
I don't know if he was an EMT by then. I just know it was after he left the band in the mid-1990s, but before 2004. I don't know when in that time period he actually got certified. For all I know,
well, but then
9/11 is what inspired it.
It could be, but if he doesn't do it until after 9/11, I mean, he's born in the mid-50s, so that makes him like 55 or 6 years old, learning to be an EMT, like past retirement age, and going on very physically demanding, like difficult, stressful jobs for hundreds of shifts. I don't know, I'm not feeling it. I think this one's a spin.
This is a true fact.
Really? Wow, I'm striking out.
Yeah, he once said in an interview in 2020, I wasn't someone until I put on that 511 uniform and went on my first call.
Wow.
I'm not going to kid you. I knew I was in for the humbling experience. A white boy rock star thinks, What? This is an easy gig?
In the late 1990s. Yeah, I guess he would have been doing it.
So sometime between the late 1990s and 2004, because I know I have a interview story about 2004. I just don't know when in there he officially started, because I also thought about the 9/11 aspect, but could not get confirmation which side of that event he started.
Wow. Yeah, this Today article that I found right here is from 2004, and he says he's been doing several weeks of rides in an ambulance, training to become a paramedic in 2004. Wow. Wow, dang. Somebody writes a song called Might As Well Jump. I mean, he's really had a change of heart.
Oh, dang.
It was inspired by a Suicide Jumper a little bit, but we'll get to that later. Mostly just the title hook. Anyway, that's coming.
Last, but certainly not least, David Lee Roth loves a good guitar string feast.
What? Loves a guitar string feast?
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. I have no idea what that could possibly mean. I mean, we talked about the drill eating through guitar strings, so that's as close as a guess as I can make.
Maybe David Lee Roth is a drill.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, he came accustomed to the taste of guitar strings.
Oh, are you talking about like picking with his teeth?
Nope.
Okay.
That'd be too normal.
That'd be pretty normal. Yeah, that would, of all things, be pretty normal for Factor Spin, a final ramp. When else does he taste guitar strings?
When he's determining what gauge they are.
Okay, so gauge, I mean, you're talking about like the thickness of the string. That's how you determine what gauge it is. Higher gauge strings are thicker, and they feel different and they play different. Why is he doing that with his mouth?
He says he could taste the difference.
I don't know about that. I know you can taste the difference in metal. I mean, nickel guitar strings in your...
Well, he said he could taste string gauges. I don't know if that meant he could taste the difference between them, or if he could just like tell with his tongue the size.
Maybe he just did it for fun and didn't want to seem as weird as he was. Yeah, I'm checking the gauge.
He did once say he had a real taste for the .009s.
That's great. That's great, man. That's like dental floss. That's a dental floss thickness of string. I don't know what else to ask. I don't know what to make of guitar string feast.
I knew it had to be my final ramp.
You just like the words guitar string feast, I think. Are there any that he doesn't like the taste of? If he particularly cares for the high E, I mean, what gauges is he against?
I don't know. This is all I really got.
Oh, okay. Well, it sucks that the shutout is riding on this. This will be my first Factor Spin loss since Tyler, the Creator.
In a minute.
So that's sad. My first loss to the 200s. Here go my perfect 200s.
Yeah, one episode in. It's the first episode of the 200s based on what we said at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this is a fact.
He's going with fact.
I am going to hedge all my bets here. I'm going to put all my chips on that you wouldn't otherwise have any idea about guitar string gauges. You'd never know that that's a thing that you would be able to make a Factor Spin about. I don't know. I think the only way that you'd come across that is if it's a part of a true fact like this.
You hedged your bets for the shutout, or the prevention of the shutout in your case.
Get the stopper.
This is a spin.
Really? Wow, I blew it. I blew it.
You blew it.
Like I said, it doesn't make any sense.
The first loss of the 200s, the end of your streak on a shutout.
Brutal.
It doesn't make any sense. No. He did, I believe, say he had a taste for the .009s, but that was just in reference to his favorite size.
To his preference, to his normal preference for them.
Yeah.
Not his literal taste. Well, I'm impressed that you found out about string gauges and used it so effectively.
Oh, I know about string gauges. I'm a little offended that you think I want it.
You play a wind instrument.
I play bass.
What?
Connor plays a wind instrument.
Oh, got it. I was like, man, I didn't know Connor played but of course Connor doesn't play the bass.
Yeah, the whole voice thing really gets you, huh? My superpower.
It really threw me off this time. Yep.
Yeah. Just because I play wind instrument doesn't mean I don't understand how other instruments work.
Well, yeah, that's true. But string gauges are pretty niche. Like,
not really.
I think most people who don't play guitar probably assume there is one guitar string.
I mean, I think most people who don't really know anything about guitar or music in general probably think that. But I think if you're at all even semi into the music world, the concept of there being more than one string size is something you learn pretty quickly.
That's true.
Yeah. I saw that quote and I thought food, and then I thought Guitar String Feast. I was like, that's a hilarious title.
Unfortunately, it was.
I found a whole page dedicated to weird David Lee Roth quotes.
He seems like the kind of guy to have a lot of them.
Some of my favorites. I'm not the boss, but I am in charge.
I like that. That's got the same energy as Charlie Watts. You're my singer.
Yeah, and I used to jog, but the ice kept falling out of my glass,
Wonderful.
which I also really enjoy.
Okay, well, I should have used a reroll power on more of them.
This was a good week. I'm feeling good.
Well, congratulations.
You want to just go ahead and do next week's round right now while you're on a tailspin?
No, the minivan era has to unfold in its minivan way.
Fair enough.
It would be a marvelous night for it, but alas, we'll have to wait. We'll see you next week, Mixtaper.
Yeah, we'll have more Van next week. And until then, yeah.
Nice. Welcome back, Connor. Sorry I let you down.
Can't believe you got shut out.
I can't believe you can't believe it. It's happened so many times.
Not to me.
No, it's happened once to you, though.
Yeah.
It has been a while. I was happy to be riding that winning streak for a bit.
It was like a winning streak.
It was good to humble me. Let's talk about the album cover of 1984. It's a smoking baby. Well, maybe. Kind of an angel. A cherub.
A cherub.
Yeah.
And he's not smoking.
He's just holding a lit cigarette.
Exactly.
We don't know that he could have been framed.
Maybe he just took it from a baby devil.
Yeah, maybe he did. I don't know. It's a painting, actually. It's a painting by Margot Nahas. They recruited her from a selection of different artists, and they said, hey, we want you to paint for this album 1984. What if you painted 4 chrome women? And she said, no, I don't want to do that. So instead, they dug into the back catalog of her artwork, and they found this image of a little smoking baby. Thankfully, the reference image that she used to paint this was just her friend's kid with a candy cigarette. They didn't give the baby a real cig. Wasn't really lighting up. Just having candy. It was like painting candy with a baby. But also, even still, they put stickers over all the cigarettes in the UK to keep it classy.
Nice.
I know, it's funny to me. It's not as bad as necessarily like the sticky fingers. We're going to change the whole album cover from jeans to severed hands. But it's still funny. Like, it's not whatever. 1984, you're a little too sensitive.
Yeah.
And this whole album, Hot for Teacher, Drop Dead Legs, come on.
Also, can we just talk about how everything about this baby angel thing is like... What's the term when something looks human but doesn't feel human?
Uncanny Valley?
Yeah, uncanny. Like, looking at the hand that's holding the cigarette, that doesn't look like a child's hand.
No, it almost looks like if this were an album cover that someone put out today, I straight up would probably accuse it of being artificial intelligence, AI generated.
Yeah.
It's just the way he's twisted some.
Like, the face as a whole is like child's face, but each individual piece of it, like the contours and the skin, and just, it doesn't feel... right.
Yeah.
You're right. Like, if this was made today, people would accuse it of being AI generated.
But we know for a fact it's a painting, because it was around almost before computers were. So this is as organic as intelligence gets.
One last fun fact about the album art.
Oh.
If you're listening to this on Spotify, as you're listening to it, the album art, the cigarettes actually smokes.
Oh, they've animated it up a little bit?
Yeah. While you're listening to it. The wings subtly flap and the cigarette smokes.
So then, at best, the baby is secondhand smoking.
Yeah.
But maybe we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He is just a child.
But now let's get into it.
Let's get into it. 1984 opens, of course, with a title track, an instrumental, a curtain pulling back moment, 1984.
It's nice.
It's nice, isn't it? Yeah. It almost sounds like the power drill kind of thing. Just the way that it kind of...
Well, and just like the weird techie pew, pews and stuff. It like feels futuristic, which is funny for a track called 1984.
Well, at the time, it was at least presentistic. But what's funny, I feel like this should open your mindset to like, oh, this is a different kind of Van Halen album. They're not just doing straight rock music anymore. They've added synthesizers.
Well, I'm familiar with track 2, so I've heard this version of Van Halen.
Well, yeah, you had, but the people in 1984 hadn't. I feel like...
Oh, so this is like a curtain opening on a new Van Halen.
Yeah, the track 1984 feels like it's a good way to warm people up into the Van Halen of Jump.
Yeah.
And Jump, what an iconic track. Wow.
I get up and nothing gets me down.
Yeah, right? Nothing gets this song down. Jump was the lead single and went to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. It was Van Halen's only #1 Billboard Hot 100 hit. and it was Rolling Stone's 177th greatest song of all time. It is one of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's 500 songs that shaped rock and roll. A lot of people would say it's the best Van Halen song. A lot of people that are big Van Halen fans would probably push back on that, but you can't probably argue that it's certainly the most well-known.
Definitely one of their biggest.
Yeah. Also, Jump was nominated for a Best Rock Performance by a Duo or Group Grammy, but they lost to Purple Rain and Prince and the Revolution. What do you think? Do you remember when you first heard Jump for the first time?
I played Jump more times than I could ever count.
Oh, yeah?
Through the band.
It is a big sports anthem for a lot of teams and scenarios. Goal songs and hype songs, and it's great for that. And we love it now, but that wasn't always the case, right? Eddie made the synth and the rest of the band hated it at first. He said, when I first played Jump for the band, nobody wanted to have anything to do with it. Dave said that I was a guitar hero and shouldn't be playing keyboards. But he said my response was if I wanted to play a tuba or a Bavarian cheese whistle, I'll do it. So I'm glad he stuck with synthesizers instead of Jump on Bavarian cheese whistles.
I don't know. I think that's a version of Van Halen the world would be excited to see.
Yeah, you're right. I'd maybe try it. I wonder if it does exist because of that quote. Maybe someone's done it sometime. Lyrically, that hook, I mentioned it earlier when the Mixtaper was with us. That go ahead and jump hook was actually inspired by a news story about a suicide jumper. They were like, man, surely some of these onlookers down below are yelling, go ahead and jump. And that's a little dark. So they took that hook from that scenario, but then the rest of the song is about taking the leap to like hook up with someone, to jump and fall in love. I get up and nothing gets me down. I don't know if it's a common term. Maybe it was, but I've always had like the line, I've got my back against the record machine, always makes me go, what are you talking about? The record machine? Like a jukebox? Have you ever heard it called a record machine anytime, anywhere, ever?
Is that what it was originally called? I mean, we've talked about the invention of the jukebox on this podcast, haven't we?
We did talk about the invention of the jukebox. That someone's relative, it's been ages and ages.
Yeah, I know. And I feel like in that conversation, we discovered it was originally patented as like a record machine, right?
Maybe, but I've searched record machine and it just gives me turntable, 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 turntable. Like,
yeah, I don't remember. I don't know.
The first record machine was called a phonautograph. That's different than the phonograph. The phonograph just did wax, but a phonautograph, I don't know, permanently etched things. Interesting. Can't you see me standing here? I got my back against the phonautograph. I've just always taken issue with Record Machine. The rest of the song, the lyrics don't matter. Who cares, right? It's that big synth that you're here for. And the guitar solo is incredible. Like, yeah, Van Halen started using synths, but they're clearly still a band that can hang with guitars. And if you weren't sure about that on Jump, if Jump left you in doubt that Van Halen was still a guitar band, well, Panama should put you right at ease. Panama was the third single. Was it one that you knew?
I do know Panama.
I figured you would. It's another, probably like quintessential Van Halen track. And it's not about the country Panama. It's about a race car that David Lee Roth liked, called the Panama Express, but also it's what he called his own car. He said the nickname for that blue 1969 Cadet Caravan was Panama, because that's the farthest south that you could possibly go and still have a really corrupt good time. And I don't know what that means, because there are a lot of places farther south than that. Apparently you couldn't have good times there. Sorry, South America.
Yeah, sorry, South America.
I know. Do you know why he decided to write this song?
Bored?
No, he wasn't bored. I mean, he might have been. But what happened was apparently a reporter accused Van Halen and David Lee Roth of singing only about women partying in cars. And he's like, wait a minute, I've never written a song about a car. So he decided to. And that's what turned into Panama.
Interesting.
Yeah. Eddie Van Halen, when he was writing the guitar part for this song, he was inspired by AC/DC and their really like 3-chord empty space kind of style for the chord structure on Panama. And that's cool. I think you can really clearly hear that influence, especially on the intro. Also, not to like quote directly from the Wikipedia page because I don't like to do that, but I found no other way to accurately present this information and I don't want to mess it up. The page said that during the United States invasion of Panama, U.S. soldiers played this song repeatedly as a form of psychological warfare in an attempt to force General Manuel Noriega out of hiding. The government used this song to torture people in Panama.
I feel like I've heard that.
So did General Manuel Noriega. I wonder how many times listening through Panama it would take for me to feel psychologically attacked. It'd have to be a lot, right?
Yeah, it'd have to be.
I wonder if Van Halen got any royalties for that. That'd be wild. But also a fun fact about Panama, the music video features a guitar that looks like a bottle of Jack Daniels. And MTV, they had a no product placement rule for their music videos, right? They wouldn't show any videos that had blatant advertising, but Panama was so much of a hit and the guitar was so prominent in the video that they just said screw it and they aired it anyway. They decided to waive that rule for Panama. Which one do you like better? Do you like synthy Van Halen on Jump or guitar Van Halen on Panama better? Do you have a preference?
I think it depends on my mood. I don't know. I really like Panama. I think on average, I prefer that sound over the synth, but the synth has a time and place in my heart.
Oh, certainly. I think I tend towards the Jump sound more often than the Panama sound.
Interesting.
As a guitar guy, that should surprise you because it surprises me.
Yeah, it does surprise me.
Maybe it's just the style of Jump. I don't know. Maybe it's just because Jump was what I heard first. I don't know. But that's usually the way I tend. I do really find myself fascinated by the guitar on Top Jimmy, though. He kind of gets into some harmonics there that are really cool. It's a very difficult kind of riff to play on a guitar, what he does at the beginning of Top Jimmy. I'm guessing this is probably, aside from the intro, probably the first one you didn't know.
No, I didn't.
Okay. What'd you think of it? It's a little bit more of like a down and dirty, like rock and roll style song. It's not a big sweeping glam metal thing. It's a little more frantic and a little smaller in scope than the first two songs here.
It intrigued me after the Jump Panama double whammy.
Yeah.
This one kind of pulled me in to be like, oh, mysterious.
Mysterious. That riff does invite a lot of mystery, doesn't it? It makes you go, oh, what's this? That's pretty cool. It's about a band called Top Jimmy and the Rhythm Pigs. Not just a fictional band. That's a real Hollywood band that David Lee Roth saw at a bar that he would go to a lot during the 70s. And man, if you're Top Jimmy and the Rhythm Pigs, it's probably gotta suck, right? To be a band and then have someone write a song about you that is so much more popular than you.
Yeah, that'd be like if we did a podcast just talking about another podcast and we became way more successful than the podcast we were talking about.
Yeah, right. That'd be wild. They released an album called Pigus Druncus Maximus. It's their first and only record. And released in 1987 after the group began to crumble. So there you go. Yeah, that's their legacy. One Druncus album and a Van Halen song in their name. Really interesting stuff. So Top Jimmy pulls you in with the mystery. What does Drop Dead Legs do for you? Does it drop you dead?
I have a confession to make about Drop Dead Legs.
Really? Yeah? What's your confession?
The title Drop Dead Legs, for some reason, my brain pictured this song being about a spider.
Oh. That's
like written from like the perspective of like a fly stuck in the web and singing about the drop dead legs as the spider approaches, all 8 of them.
That's really funny. That's really hilarious. Drop dead legs, pretty smile, hurts my head, gets me wild. Giant butt? Yeah, that sounds like a spider. When the night is through, will I still be loving you? Dig those moves, vampire. Yeah, man.
Uh-huh.
There are other implications to the line, throw my rope loop-de-loop, but that does sound spiderish. You know what? That's my new headcanon too. You've won me over to your ridiculous side this time.
Well, good. I thought you were gonna ridicule me for that one.
No.
So I'll take it.
I'll go down with the ship on that one. It is just a straight up rocker of a song. I really like the way they incorporate the title and just sing it. It's got a good melody to it. There's a little cowbell in here. That's fun. I really like the drums on Drop Dead Legs too. And a lot of other places on this album. Alex is doing great, but you can really hear how they stand out on the beginning of Drop Dead Legs.
See, I can't believe you prefer the synth to like this, though.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the guitar's doing some real interesting stuff.
Oh, it is. It definitely is.
Like, don't get me wrong. I think I prefer Jump as a song to Drop Dead Legs.
Yeah, and I think that's what I mean.
But, like, in terms of style, I think I tend to gravitate towards this style.
No, that's fair. I think I'd say the same. Maybe I was a little hasty before. I like the sound of Jump, but I would not enjoy this whole record if it was all just like Jump.
Yeah, you wouldn't want a full Jumpin' album.
Yeah, we gotta stay grounded a little bit. I like some of the harmonies on Drop Dead Legs, too. They kind of take me to like almost a Def Leppard-y kind of place. Yeah, I just like the tone of Drop Dead Legs a lot. The sound of it is really good. And then we pop into another song that was one of Van Halen's biggest. Maybe another one you knew?
Oh yeah, I know Hopper Teacher.
I thought you would. It's the 4th single from this album. It's the band's last single with David Lee Roth. And man, that double bass drum, huh? How about it? What an intro.
Double bass drumming. Yeah, it's what an intro. Sounded like my old car in the morning.
Yeah, no kidding. Trying to rev up. It's also got a guitar solo in the middle with a really cool time signature change in the middle of it. Eddie Van Halen said, "I winged that one. If you listen to it, the timing changes in the middle of nowhere. We were in a room playing together, and I kind of winked at the guys and said, okay, we're changing now, because I don't count. I just follow my feelings. He said, I tend to do a lot of things in 3s and 5s instead of 4s. My weird sense of time just drives my brother Alex nuts because he's a drummer, so he has to count. But generally he'll say, well, Ed, you did it in 5 again, if that's the way you want it. But that's not the way I want it. It's just what feels right to me. And I think that's what makes him such a good guitar player and what makes Van Halen such an interesting band. It's because they just go with what feels right, and they work out the rest on the back end later. How'd you feel about like some of the talking in this song? Because it almost plays out like half skit, half song. They really try and put you in the world of this little student who is hot for teacher.
Yeah, I mean, I don't love it, but I'm used to it because I knew this song.
Yeah, that's fair.
I can live with it.
That's good. Live with it is fine. It's like this song almost tries too hard for me.
Wow.
Yelling, I brought my pencil. It's like, okay, are we taking this?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're hot for teacher, you're probably trying too hard at also, right? I mean, maybe.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good point. The odds are against you. Decidedly stacked against you. What a strange song for grown men to write, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, same vibes as like school's out for the summer, school's out forever, but like worse.
Yeah.
My homework was never quite like this. Wild. This song is infamous for its music video. Have you ever seen the music video?
No.
Oh, Hot for Teacher is one that riled up Tipper Gore and the Parents Music Resource Center about adult content in music and censorship and content warnings and all that stuff. The music video, like, the teachers just dance around in bikinis. That's pretty much it. There's a little boy named Waldo who's so shy, and he gets on the bus and goes to school. Phil Hartman, you know Phil Hartman? He voices Waldo in the music video.
Oh.
Saturday Night Live, The Simpsons, News Radio, Phil Hartman, shot to death by his wife. Well, I thought you'd know Phil Hartman. Oh well.
I don't think I do.
Wild. Well, yeah, it's a silly music video. They did a little crotch grab in the middle. It got censored. At one point, they put, like, censor bars over their little crotch grab, which is stupid, because what else are they doing under that bar, right? It, like, makes it so much worse. It draws so much more attention to it than if you just let them do it. But, you know, there's real scandalous stuff for 1984. In the same way that they had to put stickers over that little cigarette, they caused some controversy for the Hot for Teacher video. But in spite of all of that, it was an MTV hit. I did find a fun anecdote, though, from director Pete Angelus. He said, one thing I remember about that video that a lot of people don't know or maybe didn't see, when Dave turns into the television host, we had an idea. I thought, you know, there hasn't really been a substantial urine stain on MTV, ever, when you really think about it.
Oh, no.
So let's pour a lot of water on Dave's crotch. Let's make it look like he really just peed himself. And then let's see if anyone sees it when we hand the video to the record company and MTV. And nobody did.
That's crazy.
I know. It's wild, right? He said, I know this sounds absolutely pathetic to say, but we probably pulled off the first and most substantial urine stain in the history of television. So we've got that going for us.
Wild.
Hot for Teacher, the most substantial urine stain in TV history. That's a fun song. Another song that I really like, and another reason I think I kind of am inclined towards synth, is I'll Wait. I'll Wait is another very sweeping synth song. It's the second single.
Yeah, again, I'll Wait is another one I knew.
Did you? I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I know I'll Wait. And it's why I said that their synthesizer sound has, like, its spot in my heart.
Totally.
But it's just, again, it's not what I want all of Van Halen to be.
No.
I think it's a tasteful synthesizer, the way they use it on this album.
Yes, they don't go overboard with it. And thankfully, their next album, 5150, doesn't either. Like, they introduce it as an element, but they don't become it. I'll Wait is cool. It's co-written by Doobie Brother Michael McDonald.
Yeah.
The band needed some help with a melody and some lyrics, and Ted Templeman knew just the guy from his other band. Michael McDonald said it's probably one of the most well-known songs that he's ever written on, which is probably accurate. I mean, the album went 10 times platinum, and the song hit number 13 on the Hot 100. It's another little adult content kind of song.
Written about a underwear model, right?
Yeah, it's written about an underwear model in a magazine, like a letter, like they're writing a letter to her. I'll wait for your love, which is kind of weird. But you know what? The song's the song.
I'll wait for your next issue of the underwear catalog.
I mean, really. What if that was the song? No wonder they needed help with the lyrics. That'd be brutal. Instead, we ended up with, Are You For Real? It's hard to tell from just a magazine. You smile and the picture sells. Look what it does to me. Such good photography. I'll wait till your love comes down. I'm coming straight for your heart. No way you can stop me now. Weird things to say to the picture you've stuck on your wall. I'll be honest, just weird. But what a good sounding song. This is such a quick album. This is already the 8th and next to last track.
I know. I can't believe we're already to Girl Gone Bad. It just goes by so fast.
I know. Girl Gone Bad. Yeah, we end up here in No Time Flat. The whole album's like 33 minutes, so it's not even been a half hour yet, and we're at track 8. Girl Gone Bad, it's about a respectable woman turned to a life of sex work. And he says as much very directly in the lyrics. He says she should have been with me, but now she doesn't work for free. She's been with the Lonesome John.
But I was broke.
Maybe he was broke. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know, but she's out on the street, fresh from out of town. Not a lot of lyrics in Girl Gone Bad, but that's okay. Chorus is really what carries this one. The verses are alright, but the chorus, Girl Gone Bad, that's really where it hooks you.
I really like the walk down the guitar does around the 120 mark.
Ooh. Yeah, isn't it neat? That's that same kind of thing, going with the flow that he talks about. Just doing what feels right. And it serves the song so well. It becomes like a highlight moment for the whole track just because he decided to do what he wanted there. Cut out all the other instruments and just walk it on down.
Yeah. And then he like goes up and like around the 330 mark, he starts like riffling up like.
Yeah, he does. Such a good guitar player. Such cool little licks in here. It keeps the song interesting, keeps it really dynamic. I think we end the album at its most chaotic point. I think House of Pain, I mean, in the same way that you said Top Jimmy kind of invites mystery or whatever, House of Pain invites panic. It feels stressful, it feels fast, it feels jumpy. There's something about that chord progression and the way that it bounces around really gets me in that mood. It's a tough one too. It's about this relationship that's falling apart, apparently from one side. She tried to leave me, but her hands were always tied. I don't know if this song is about physical stuff, or if it's just about a guy that really is fighting to not let go of this relationship in a particularly adamant way. But it is an intense song, and it's another instance where there's just not a lot of words. And no chorus this time. You know, Van Halen does an okay verse, but they're never, like, often verses that blow you away.
Yeah.
And so for a song without a chorus, I just don't feel blown away by the verse. But thankfully, this is mostly just a jam song. I think the words are just here so it can be a song. And then they just rock out for the last 2 minutes of the song, which is great. Because there's pretty immediately kind of a key change that happens after the words end, and the whole vibe of the song sort of changes at that point. Technically, it's one of the most impressive, maybe, with time signatures and changes and stuff, but yeah, it just doesn't ever stick with me much. Anyway, that's pretty much what I've got to say about 1984. Think it's time for some final spin.
Yeah, what's final spin?
Let's do it. For me, this album is the most hampered by its lyrics. Some of the songs hardly have any lyrics in them at all. Some of them are silly, like Record Machines and, I don't know, Drop Dead Legs, Big Butt, like, okay, But I'm giving the music first and foremost an 87. A lot of really cool choruses. Some of the songs are pretty simple, but they're simple in a way that lets you rock out to them and not in a way that, like, bores you to tears. They're all short songs, too, so nothing gets too burdensome. 87 there. 77 for the lyrics. They're fine. A little scandalous for 1984. And maybe that's a thing that hits different in its time, right? When nobody's putting out albums like this and you listen to this album and you go, oh my gosh, they just talked about her legs, you know? Like maybe it was a little more shocking at the time, but 77 for me today. 87 for the instruments and production. It is a really cool blend of synth and guitar. I like that they introduce that tool to the tool belt, but don't ever, go overboard with it. Eddie Van Halen's one of the greatest guitar players of all time, so that speaks for itself. I like David Lee Roth's voice. I like the sound of it. And they just produce it in such a glam metal, like a big echoey, reverby kind of way. And this just sounds good. Overall vibe, giving it a 90. Kind of an all-time classic, a quintessential Van Halen album, like a must-know. If you want to know the mid-80s and what the music was and what rock music was doing, this is essential. So overall, 1984 for me is getting a score of 85.6 and ending up on my spreadsheet at number 341, which puts it above Ingrid Andress and More Hearts Than Mine. And again, it only feels close to that because of the lyrics. Every other score it has is so much higher than that. And it's below Barry Manilow, and Even Now.
Wow.
So how about that? We've got our Menace ranking higher than Van Halen for me. Isn't that wild?
Sounds like Van Halen was a bit of a menace out there torturing people.
Torturing? In the House of Pain? Yeah. Or torturing them with Panama? That's the government that
I'm
did
in Panama, but
yeah.
yeah.
You're right. Well, Panama's a song all about a fast car, right?
Yep.
Panama's a Hoon song.
Yeah.
Hoon anthem, Panama.
The Hoon anthem out there torturing people.
Hot shoe burning down the avenue. Telling you, man. I'm a Hoon. Anyway, what's your score for 1984?
Hot for Hoon.
Hot for Hoons.
Oh gosh. Anyway, I'm a Van Halen fan.
A Fan Halen?
I'm a Van Halen. a Van Halen fan.
Van Halen is right there.
I know, but you said that one. I needed to say something different.
You did first, and then I fixed it.
I just wanted to. I wanted to be cool like you and come up with a cool way to do it.
Thank you. They say imitation is the most sincere form of flattery, and I am truly flattered. However, I do not feel truly imitated.
It's interesting. I don't know if I were picking Van Halen, and if I would have gone this album, or if I would have went their original.
Oh, the self-titled
album. Yeah.
That's a tough call. Both went diamond. I mean, both are similarly regarded.
Yeah, I just think overall, songs like Jump and Panama are probably bigger than most everything on their self-titled album.
Except Eruption.
Well, again, I feel like Eruption in terms of plays doesn't even like hit their top 10.
No, probably not.
I'm thinking you got Jump, Panama, Hot for Teacher, Running with the Devil, Ain't Talking About Love, Can't Stop Loving You, Dance the Night Away. Those are the kind of songs I'm thinking are up there in their top 10.
Yeah.
And so while I think Jump and Panama are probably their biggest, I do think more of their debut album probably makes like the top. Like if I was putting together like a top 20, it'd be real close on which one had more songs.
Yeah, that's fair.
But either way, I think this one's gonna get... Yeah, this one's going to get 9 guitar string feasts out of 10.
Wow. Oh, a 9. Welcome back to the 9s. It's been a minute. It's been more than 10 episodes since we've hit a 9.
Yeah.
That's exciting. Cool. Van Halen probably deserves it. You can't spell 1984 without 9.
It's going to go right below Montero by Lil Nas X.
Below Montero makes me feel some kind of way.
I mean, is it below Montero for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
I've never compared those albums directly before, and it feels weird, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's this whole podcast. That's the beauty of the spreadsheet.
Yeah. It's objective. It's codified in numbers.
Yep.
Well, what about that top 3? You get to take more than half the album this time. Well, not more than half.
Well,
you could if you wanted to.
I could take the whole thing if I wanted to.
That'd be funny. Wow.
I'm going to take, in album order, Jump.
Go ahead.
Panama.
Yep.
I'm debating on what to give my honorable mention.
Ooh, that means it's a close call.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm going to go next up, third top 3. I'll Wait.
Okay. Wow.
And honorable mention to Girl Gone Bad.
Skipping over.
The cool guitar work.
Man, yeah, the intriguing Top Jimmy. Skipping over Hot for Teacher. You don't got it bad.
Yeah.
So bad.
I almost gave Hot for Teacher a honorable mention, but I was very impressed by the guitar work on Girl Gone Bad.
Yeah, that wasn't one you knew beforehand, right?
It can have my mention. No.
Okay, then that probably is mentionable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you picked out those 4. What do you want to see on the playlist?
I want to see Panama.
Man, that's the worst one you could have picked in terms of me making a pick. Yeah, Panama. Because now I feel like, I want to take Jump. Should I take Jump?
You can take Jump. We haven't done a back-to-back in a while.
These are the hard questions we have to ask.
We used to take back-to-back tracks all the time.
Yeah, I think it's got to be Jump.
All right, Jump in Panama.
Basic favorite songs.
They're favorites for a reason.
Yeah, it's true. They're big hits. Big hits. And that's okay. Hey, thanks for tuning in for this first stop in our minivan era. Tune in next week to see what's in the back seat of our minivan.
Now I want the art department to draw us in a Spin It themed minivan.
A spinny van.
A spinny van.
Well, that's next week's problem. It will be a marvelous time. Until next week, you can find us on the internet wherever you are. If you're on Instagram, we're at Spin It Pod Official. If you're on X, we're at Spin It Pod. If you're on a website, that website could be www.spinitpod.com, and there you will find all of the things. Be sure to follow us and like us and rate us 5 stars or however many stars you so choose. It's helpful, gets the word out.
This week, instead of telling a friend about the podcast, I want you to go out there and find an EMT. And first, thank them for all they do.
Yeah.
And then second, tell them about the podcast.
Tell your favorite EMT about the podcast. That'd be cool. Maybe they could play it for people in ambulances.
Yeah. Although then I start to worry that the podcast will go the way of Panama and be considered torture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But Panama's still a good song, even if they use it to torture people.
True.
We'll see you next week. And until we do, you know the drill.
Keep spinning. The cordless drill.
Oh, you know the power drill. That's good.
The pound cake drill.
You know the pound cake drill. That's right. I can't believe that's true. I wonder how many guitar strings Van Halen went through using that power drill. Like, I don't know, maybe he did like a special mod to it to make it not eat up his guitar strings.
Can I make a confession right here, right now, for only those who make it all the way to the outro banter?
Yeah, so if you scrubbed ahead, this doesn't apply to you, this doesn't count for you. You gotta hit stop.
Yeah, turn it off.
Okay, Now, you who are left, what's this for? What are you saying?
For a very long time, longer than I could probably estimate or care to admit, I thought Panama. You know me, I don't really look up songs or like look up artists or anything like that.
No,
I
of
just
course
listen
not.
to songs and I like them. And I definitely don't look up lyrics.
No.
For a long time, I thought that Panama, they were saying animal. I thought it was animal.
Oh my gosh. This song called Panama. It's all about animals.
I didn't know what the song was called. I only ever like heard it get played on the radio or like somebody else be playing it or whatever, right?
Wow.
It wasn't like I was looking it up. It wasn't until I went to look it up one time to play it that I was like, wait a second.
I can't find this anywhere. That's so funny. I can't believe that made it all the way to the outro banter. Thank you for providing that to the episode, even though you hid it way back here because you were ashamed of it. You hid it in this little shame corner.
Exactly. In the shadows of shame at the end of the episode.
This is your house of pain.
Gotta go find that spider. Here it has drop dead legs.